Good morning, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order at 8:30 a.m. First on the agenda, agenda is approval of agenda. Does anyone have any additions? Councillor Cunningham.
I would like to add a closed session item, advice from officials, ATIA section 29, please.
Councillor Woodstock.
Ratepayer Request. 2.3.
2.3, sure. Ratepayer request. Any other additions?
No.
Seeing no other additions, can I have approval for agenda? Councillor Penner.
I would move that the Committee of the Whole approve the agenda as amended.
All those in favor? Carried. 1.2, approval of minutes from the April 21st Committee of the Whole meeting. Any errors or corrections, additions, concerns? Seeing none? Oh, Councillor Cunningham.
If there's no questions or concerns, I will move to approve the April 21st, 2026 COW meeting minutes as presented.
Perfect, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to new business, 2.1, Kneehill County SCADA assessment. Welcome.
Right. Good morning, Council. This morning, I bring forth a discussion for the Committee of the Whole in regards to the Kneehill County's current SCADA system and its use at its water pump house sites. This was a report that was done, so I'm just here to kind of fill in our current state of our SCADA system as well as the future outlook on it as well. So to complete the SCADA assessment, we did engage with MPE to review the system of the pump houses. They visited the pump houses and they engaged with the county staff as well on issues that are currently being done, the future outlook and all that, like what we are looking for the SCADA to do. So this SCADA report also includes the HMI system as well. They are separate systems, but essentially when you talk about SCADA, you're talking about that whole package kind of thing. So a SCADA system, if you're not aware what that acronym means, but it's basically the Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System. So that's basically the brains of our pump houses. It tells, I'll kind of go through a little bit more in the process here, but it's basically the brains of the system, kind of does things for us that we don't have to do manually. The assessment review, the current state of the SCADA system, the existing hardware, software, and communication components, such things as model, age, capacity, standards, current standards, and implementation were considered during it. The report ultimately produced a gap analysis and just provided some recommendations for closing those gaps and realizing the vision of a future SCADA system and what that would help and enable. So as I mentioned, the SCADA system is this critical piece of the infrastructure and is used daily for operational control of the water systems. I'm sure that maybe a lot of you in your line of work also probably have some sort of a SCADA system that you do utilize. So I'll just get into the presentation, and as we go through, if you have any questions, just kind of let me know. So as I mentioned, Kneehill County, we retained MPE as a consultant to help complete the SCADA assessment. The scope of work was based on concerns of the existing SCADA equipment, which was nearing the end of its life, and the connectivity concerns that we have, as well as our security concerns as well with the way that it's set up. So I kind of went over the rest of that one, so we can move on here. So again, what is a SCADA system? So a SCADA system is basically the supervisory control and data acquisition system. It's a centralized network of hardware and software used by water utilities, but any other utilities as well, to remotely manage the pumps, valves, treatment processes, also while monitoring tank levels, the water quality, and improving the efficiency and safety of the systems. So Kneehill County SCADA system consists of hundreds of devices which are interconnected to form a functional system. These devices can be grouped into the 4 levels, which make up a process control model. So those 4 levels are the supervisory control. So those are basically the ones that you kind of see there. It's basically the data collection, the visualization, the historical data logging and reporting, and alarm notifications as well. The next level is the communications level, and this is what connects the stations to one another, and it makes data available to that supervisory control level as well. The local control level, that's where that's the functioning part. That's where it connects to the instruments and the equipment. So everything that's in a pump house, flow control, pressure, gauges, that sort of thing, that's what connects into this, and then that basically gives the information to the SCADA system to basically execute what we want it to kind of do. And the last level is the ground level, and this is the process level. So as I kind of mentioned a little bit, this is the pressure monitoring, the flow monitoring, the water level monitoring, and all that sort of thing. So those are the 4 kind of levels that we looked at through the SCADA assessment. So the supervisory control level, as I mentioned, this translates the data into useful information for operations staff, provides alarming functions, and captures data from historical records. And these can be viewed as trends or reports. So currently, the county, we don't have a centralized SCADA system in place. In lieu of a centralized system, operations staff remotely access each individual HMI to gain insight into the station operations. While each HMI does present useful data, it does only store limited trending data. The capabilities of the HMI platform are inferior to those of a centralized SCADA software solution. So for example, a centralized solution or a centralized SCADA system would basically be a computer system where you can access every single, like if you logged into this one place, you could look into every single site of ours and see what's going on. Currently, we don't have that, so if we want to look into see what Torrington is doing, individually log into Torrington. We want to look at Gamble, individually log into Gamble. There's no connectivity that way with our SCADA system. The communications level of the SCADA system, that provides the connectivity between all the systems. Communications are required to pass process variables from instruments to instruments and controllers. And that also makes data available at the supervisor control level. One thing with that centralized SCADA is that it will allow greater amounts of data trending to occur. Right now, our HMI systems, they track some of it, but the available space, memory, I'm not sure what the exact term is very limited on HMIs, whereas the SCADA system would provide a lot more data availability. To connect various control components together, various wide connections are made. Generally, this is done using Ethernet cabling, which connect PLC, RTUs, HMIs, radio modems, and other devices to the Ethernet switches. An internet connection is provided at each location, allowing this remote access to the site. So basically what we have right now is basically a modem at each site that we have to basically log into to look into our sites. The local control level. The local control level of the SCADA system consists of controllers which are connected to the equipment located in the process control level. These controllers are responsible for executing control strategies to achieve automated process control. So this basically, we program these to turn on pumps, stop pumps, rechlorinate. So when the chlorine analyzer is at a certain level, we'll turn on the chlorine. So it's basically just automation for all of our systems, so it's not has to be manned all the time to be doing this manually. So in our pump houses, micrologic PLCs are utilized throughout most of our water systems. There's a bit of Schneider Electric. The one PLC models are present at a minority. Those Schneider ones are just a couple of them we have, but the majority of the micrologic PLCs. I'll get a little bit more into this, but basically all those micrologic PLCs, they're considered obsolete or considered active mature by the manufacturer. The Schneider ones that we have, those are current models. So those couple that we have, let's say at our Churchill site, which we basically just did a few years ago, they're considered the current models. So those aren't a concern at this time. So throughout the local control level, HMIs are utilized as primary interface operations. So this is where the staff can view and adjust the process. As the primary operator interface, these local HMIs are configured to allow for remote access by operations, as well as providing alarm notifications through email to answering service arrangements. So if you see that little diagram on the bottom there, that's an actual picture of one of our HMIs and one of our pump stations. So that's what the operators are looking at. They can toggle through and they can go to different pages to see what's happening. The process level. So the process level of the SCADA system contains instrumentations and equipment which are responsible for measuring and controlling the process in each of the pump houses. This level of control is considered to be in good or excellent condition. So these are things that are maintained throughout our daily work. Those are, like I said, like the PRVs, the pressure regulators, the monitors, the flow monitors, the pumps, all that sort of thing. So then the assessment, the SCADA needs assessment. So this is what, through that assessment, was what was wanted, I guess. Not what is, I guess, totally required, but what, if we had like a system that we would be able to use for the future and what would come up to the times, the current, what am I trying to say here? Basically the current, not regulations, but standards. That's right. So this is the current needs assessment. So system availability, the SCADA system, it would need to have high availability and reliability, as it's critically important for the operators to complete their jobs. A centralized SCADA system would provide a common location for staff to view the overall system parameters. The ability to remotely connect to the local HMI should be maintained to provide redundancy in case of failures of communications issues. So anything with the electronics and stuff, if you have a communication breakdown, then this redundancy would allow you to basically connect individually like we are doing now if we had that centralized system. As well for our HMIs, the graphic standardization, so current HMI graphics, they vary between stations and stations. Graphic standardization allows staff to quickly translate data into useful information, as well as the pictures on the right. That's kind of the standards now that are being used compared to what was programmed into ours. So as you can see, it's a little more uniform and that sort of thing. The colors are on the left side are a little bit overwhelming, but there's a difference now. And that's the standardization is just the colors, the flows, like the graphics. It's if you go to one SCADA, you could probably go to another SCADA to understand what's going on. Again, another needs assessment. So the alarms management, receiving and responding to alarms is one of the most important interactions the operations staff will have with the SCADA system. Improvements to alarm logging and tracking will be realized through the implementation of a centralized SCADA system. Currently, right now, we have that individual one at each site, so it doesn't really track the alarming. It alarms out, and then you basically acknowledge it and clear it, and then it's kind of gone. Whereas in a centralized one, we can trend those callouts. The recommendation from the SCADA is to follow a certain standard for alarm management. Right now, our current alarming, it calls out to our third-party call center, and then it basically then calls to our operators. We also do receive an email as well on those calls. Accessibility, the implementation of supervisory remote control at remote access or at remote sites. This is to provide effective remote control. The SCADA system must be accessible remotely from a variety of devices and must have sufficient level of programming to allow facilities to be remotely operated. So right now, accessibility, like I said, is very limited. If there's one person in that SCADA system checking something out, nobody else can go into it. You have to wait until that other person logs out before a second person can kind of get into it. So there is a little bit of a backlog if two people were need to viewing something. Security, there is a need to improve the network security to follow industry practices and guidelines. SCADA application security improvements are required so as the system expanded to provide proper authentication, authorization, and accounting practices. Our current SCADA system has kind of just been, I guess, implemented throughout the years. There hasn't really been a design around security on it. We use various apps to access it. With this new security, you'd have to basically have like, better authentication. You'd have better control over who can do what inside that. So everyone would have their limits of what they can change or access and stuff like that. So right now it's basically, like I said, it's pretty vulnerable security-wise. Data management, again, currently the historical data is limited from station to station as it's gathered from the HMI, and each HMI has its individual capabilities depending on the available space to store this. So there might be one HMI where we can get a week of data, and there might be one where we get 48 hours of data. So that's trending, so we can see if there was any issues by looking at this trending, but we don't have that capabilities. Now it's all on paper when we write down flows, but it doesn't show the actual 24 hours of trending. So as I said, historical data, it's useful to the operations staff that assist in tracking performance of the system, assessing past events, and would have the ability also to export information for environmental reporting. So part of this assessment, it also then showed the gaps that we have within our system compared to what we would like to kind of see where from what we have to what we would like to see. So the process control, level, so this is, like I said, for a reminder, it's the pumps, the pressure gauges, all that kind of stuff. So that part of the existing SCADA system, that's in good order, working as it should. The supervisory control, so currently the SCADA system does not provide full supervisory control of remote sites, rather monitoring and adjustment of automatic controls only. So we can go in there, we can change something, but there's a lot of things where we actually have to go physically and change. With a upgraded SCADA system, this would improve that. Additional investigation of the PLC program would be required, basically to see what changes would be implemented and whether current SCADA could be modified. So basically, there is the option of looking at what we got and seeing if we can upgrade to make it into the full supervisory control. Again, a lot of our stuff is outdated, so it may or may not be worth that. But. So historical data, we just mentioned a little bit, but in the gaps here, the current SCADA system, it's got some historical data, but that data is not easy to access, as well as it doesn't really have a lot of data there due to the capacity. Life expectancy, some equipment that we have is already deemed obsolete and is not supported any longer by the manufacturer. The potential for failure is higher and parts availability is limited. There are a few times in the past where a certain part goes down, we can't get it through the manufacturer, so we're actually looking at eBay to try to find those parts. So it is a concern, like anything electronic or instrumentation-wise. Things are always evolving, always moving on, always being upgraded, and once you upgrade, then they start forgetting about the stuff that they had out 10 years ago kind of thing. So that's kind of where we're at with most of our sites. So the HMI part of the SCADA, so the majority of the HMIs in the county, we use a Bezier model. These models were discontinued in 2016 and are no longer sold, serviced, or repaired by the manufacturer. So these are the ones, like I said, if we need to fix it, we're looking on eBay to see if there's any people out there that are have any of these old parts and they're looking to sell. So it's recommended that each HMIs are replaced at the same time if we were to do an upgrade on the SCADA system as well. So our next gap that was noted was, as I mentioned before, some security. So the control system security should be a key concern for us. Security events can cause significant damage to physical infrastructure, reputation, and potentially endanger the health and safety of the water users. If someone were to get into our SCADA system, they could alter our chlorine levels. So they could put it down to nothing, basically eliminate our alarms. So we'd have zero idea that there's no chlorine going in the water, or we'd have no idea that no pumps are running, that sort of thing. So security is becoming a big issue. And like I said, we never really had a proper security system in before, but it's something that we'd have to look at even with our current system to get that upgraded as well. So as I mentioned, the communication networks used throughout the SCADA system rely on different technologies. So we go, there's radio, there's cellular, there's internet as well. And the primary connection that we use is actually through Drum Wireless as an internet provider. So a lot of our stuff is done through the internet. And they also recommend that basically any communications between our stations, we can't really communicate between our stations right now, but it should be encrypted anyways from when we log in there, if we're telling things to be done and stuff, that sort of stuff should be encrypted. So if somebody is looking at it from the outside, they won't really be able to understand what we're doing. So the SCADA application security. So the best practice is the AAA, authentication, authorization, accounting. Security principles in regard to SCADA systems. Each user of the SCADA system should have their own unique login credentials, should be assigned unique operational privileges, and all actions should be the user be able to be logged in and recorded. Currently, these aren't happening. We have one login for everybody, and anybody can do anything in there, and we don't have a tracking system in there to see who or what affected the system or made a change or anything like that. The PLCs, so as part of the system, the majority of the PLCs installed are the Allen Bradley Micrologics. As I mentioned, these series are considered obsolete, and the 1400s, so we have the 1500s mostly, those are considered obsolete, and we have a few 1400s, and those are considered almost obsolete. They're basically, the manufacturers have basically just kind of said they're on their way of the dodo kind of thing as well. So our next one is just basically part of this assessment. We did a risk matrix, and you can kind of see where some of our risks are medium and high, most of them for it. So they do have basically a model how they do this. You know, basically if something's likely to happen, if something did happen, what were the consequences? So basically the SCADA platform implementation. So this is something that's probably going to happen over time just because things age. The consequence is minor because what we're using right now, we can operate with it. It just isn't efficient, effective kind of thing. So the risk for that's medium. The PLC control panel upgrades. So this is actually where they're talking about getting spare parts, being able to repair this, being able to upgrade this. That's not really anything that we're able to do. So it's a likelihood that it's going to happen, and the consequence is major. This basically, if we lose this type of stuff, then we can't operate our valves, then we have to manually operate these. We wouldn't have any control over that operation of the equipment. So that's the risk is considered high. Yearly control system maintenance. This is just basically an assessment or an overview each year of the system, and then performing any maintenance as required throughout the time. Again, this is a medium risk, moderate. I mean, it's something that we kind of do, but like I said, it's a medium thing. So the SCADA computer replacements, that's another major, that's a high risk one. So we currently have our hardware, software, everything like that is basically obsolete. So when there is a failure, that risk is quite high. It opens up to us to security incidents as well as operational incidents. So part of this assessment then also kind of gave us some recommendations and potential costs. So it's recommended to implement a SCADA application on a centralized computer that can either be located at the county shop or in a cloud-based centralized location. So a cloud is kind of where the future is going. Everything's kind of cloud-based now. So there's those two options for that. PLC and HMI replacements. The PLCs and HMIs, which are obsolete, should be replaced. Based on the current equipment, they did outline a few of the sites that prioritize. So the first ones would be the ones that are out of date, obsolete, can't get parts. So basically our Granger site and our Sunny Slope site, and then our Sunny Slope system, which includes the gravity, pressure, and the hamlet of Torrington. And then Gamble and Selkirk, Churchill and Huxley, and then finally Mount Vernon. So that's kind of a list of, I guess, worst to best. So again, they recommend control system maintenance. This includes the maintenance of software vendor support contracts, annual software version upgrades, routine maintenance, and emergency maintenance. So this would basically be with a manufacturer they usually have a certain type of plan which provides all the updates and support that you need to maintain your systems. The rest I've kind of covered a little bit. You know, to the SCADA computer replacements, they're getting old. It's just best to follow IT practices. On that little chart there that's added, you can kind of see some costs that are outlined for the total replacement of all our water sites. So I just want to kind of just make sure that this is for Kneehill County sites only. I know in the budget that you went over, there was a SCADA component to that budget. That was for Aqua 7. So that's totally unrelated to this type of a project. So if anybody has any questions on our SCADA systems or HMIs or that sort of thing, or our operations on it.
Thank you, Councillor McCook.
Yeah, we start getting involved in this and upgrading stuff. I'm gathering we're going to be reducing staff with this.
Through the chair, I don't, I mean, you have this in place, but there's still a personal element that needs to be completed for Alberta environment, for our regulations and sources and things like that, so.
I'm talking about staff going out and checking up on each site when you can do it with the computers.
Through the chair, the personal checking in on the sites, I mean, there's a lot of things that you still can't get from a computer. You visit a site, you might hear certain noises, you might witness a certain leak, that sort of thing. We have to go out in the field, we have to do tests. Computers aren't in the field to do those tests. So there's certain testing and stuff that a computer can't do that a person has to accomplish.
Councillor Whitstock.
Yeah, according to Alberta Environment, I think every reservoir, every site has to be water tested and sent to a lab every day of the week, but Saturdays and Sundays seem to be fine. But yeah, we still need operators to draw samples and turn them into the labs.
Yeah, through the chair, there is the requirement that there still has to be a physical presence.
Councillor Olson.
So the stuff we passed for the 2026 budget, that all had to do with Aqua 7, is that correct?
Through the chair, that's correct. That was basically just, it was based upon a grant. We didn't get the grant, so that it's not going to go through. We were the lead for Aqua 7. That wasn't for Kneehill County, although Kneehill County would have been incorporated because they're part of the Aqua 7 system, but that would have been Aqua 7,
Okay. So
all
what are
their system.
So what are we budgeted for then for 2026 for this stuff?
So for this stuff, we have a budget of basically about $160,000.
Okay, and is that going to replace anything?
That will basically set us up with the centralized system. And then from there, then we have to,
So that's no HMI, PLCs, that's just the SCADA system, is that correct?
yeah.
So that's all we're getting with this year's
That's right.
allotted budget. And I see it jumps up by quite a bit in 2027. What is the reasoning for that?
That's 3 different sites. So you got
Okay.
your gravity site, you got your pressure site, and then you also got the hamlet of Torrington site as well. So each site is approximately about, I think, about $90,000 or so to upgrade.
Okay, and then are we paying for 4 different programs right now? Is that what you were saying? And is it 4 different programs and 1 user, is that correct?
Each site has an app that you can access it. Right now, when I go back to the security site, we're using free apps right now. So we don't really have a lot of security that way. So
Okay,
each
yeah,
app,
that's-
individually, we basically log in through that app to each individual site.
Okay, and MicroLogic is over 20 years old. Like, it's, like, how old is our system? Like, I'm getting a little worried that it's just hasn't been upgraded at all. Oh, wait, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we're
Well,
getting,
MicroLogic would have been obsolete almost in '08. I mean, we had stuff that, yeah, we had since 1993. So, yeah, I'm just, and it all has to work together, right? Your HMI has to be big enough to be able to get the data plotting and the tracking and everything that you want. So as it looks here, we're just getting a little piece here, a little piece here, a little piece here. And in 10 years, we'll have what we want, and then it'll be obsolete again. Is that what I'm looking at, or?
yeah, through the chair, that's the unfortunate thing of these type of electronics is that there's life cycles, and we probably could be at that point where in 10 years when we finally get it done. You can see though that basically by 2030, we'd have everything upgraded. The rest of those numbers is basically their little system maintenance that they, that's to pay for like your software upgrades.
But
and-
then we turn around and just start the whole, I mean, and I know that's part of what this is, but like if you change one component, it isn't gonna give you the information you're looking for the other component, right? Like, I mean, your HMI, your human machine interface has to have enough capacity to be able to push the data to what you're hoping to get, right? So,
Right, the HMI should be taking that information, collecting, and then transmitting it to that centralized system.
and what about our transmitters, our pressure transmitters and stuff? How old are they? Like,
Those are, a lot of them are the same age as basically the pump houses themselves, but those are a physical thing where they're maintained, repaired, maintained,
so
cleaned.
they've been,
So-
some have been changed out
Right,
as.
that's part of the
as
physical of
needed.
visiting those pump houses.
Okay,
you
so it'll
mentioned.
be an upgraded one
Yeah.
at that time, or, yeah.
Right,
okay.
so those are considered in good condition through this assessment.
And if you're looking into this, are we picking a SCADA system that is broadly used, that isn't just a mom and pop, one-off family type thing that's gonna be a
Right.
problem?
Yeah, there was, through the chair, there was a couple that were brought forth in the full assessment. And so there's basically a couple big players in the whole thing. They kind of control the market of SCADAs and that sort of thing. So we would go with one of them, with the one that could be as compatible as our sites that we aren't going to be upgrading at this time. And just to make sure that that can also read to it, but yeah. we
And
would
we're
definitely-
usually charged a management fee for that, annual fee for that, but it's also based on users. So how many users would we need that are gonna be looking into this? Cause that will change its cost structure too for the,
Yeah, so currently we would probably only need 5 users.
5?
Yeah. And that's where that yearly maintenance dollars comes in, right, to pay for that. We currently don't have that because we use free apps kind of thing, so we don't,
which, yeah.
yeah, and all that other stuff, the software is all kind of obsolete. We basically go and patchwork it ourselves to keep it going.
Okay, sorry, yeah,
No, that's good conversation.
I take a lot of time here.
I'm glad you know a little bit more about the whole than I do, is sometimes Greek to me. CAO Cochran, do you have a?
Thank you. Through the chair to all of council or the committee of the whole, this is really critical that we do this work. Right now, this is a system that was developed a long time ago, and our IT, our general manager of corporate community service, corporate services, whatever it is, he has to run around trying to fix this system, and he didn't develop the system. There's high risk in having our water system, SCADA, not functioning properly. So it needs to be on that capital replacement. I understand what Mr. Olson is saying around it's a cycle that will start over, but it kind of is what we have to do in this situation. But it's pretty critical we get this work done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? One question I do have is, obviously this is distribution, but maybe this ties in. The bulk fill users, when people set up accounts, how many people do we have, users do we have that don't pay their bills? Do you happen to know off the top of your head?
Through the chair, I'd have to look that up. I don't know. I don't know that. That would be financial. They kind of run the billing side of things, but that would be, yeah.
Because I've come across a couple of users that said, oh yeah, I get water, but I don't pay my bill. So I'm wondering if in this, we can change to a MasterCard system so that we don't have to
Yeah.
have default accounts and.
Yeah, so through the chair, that's one of our current system, our bulk station is also obsolete and out of date. And it doesn't tie into our SCADA system. It's almost its own separate little system within it. We've definitely actually been looking into upgrading those bulk stations to allow people just to use a debit card, MasterCard, Visa, whatever instead. But again, that's gonna come with a big cost. So we're just looking into that now, but it's probably gonna be coming up in a budget for you guys to consider. I'll just leave it out there to consider these bulk fill upgrades.
Thank you, Counselor.
Yes, sorry, I got a ton of questions, but I'll limit it to, so when we upgrade, are we looking at something that will be able to have the capacity to data track, like pressures on pipelines, and will it be able to do video? Can we put cameras in some of these pump houses and that kind of stuff? Will it have the ability to upgrade some of that, and be able to transfer that kind of data?
Through the chair, I'm not sure if it has the capabilities of the cammering part of it. I'd have to look into that once we delve deeper into what we're looking at getting. As for the pressures within the distribution lines, I think was another part of your question. We don't have that capabilities. I mean, there are certain things that you can put now inside hamlets on hydrants and that sort of thing that can do that for you, but we don't have that capability, so wouldn't be a part of this. No. Just what's within the pump house itself.
Counselor Penner?
This isn't necessarily directed at you, but more to Councillor Olson. I'm getting from your conversation that you're suggesting that this isn't something that we should be nickel and diming. We should be looking at making sure the system is capable of more rather than less.
Yeah, lots of times there's definitely a cost increase, but sometimes it's not, that big. And it looks to me like we've been nickel and diming our way along here that's just from the information I've gotten and my personal view. But I'm just saying, if we're gonna have a system, let's make sure it has some bells and whistles, not all the bells and whistles, but not the bottom of the line, because then it gets obsolete quicker, faster, and you have more problems, and you get less of what you want.
Okay, any other questions? Counselor Whitstock?
I guess further to your comment, Councilor Olson, the system wasn't built in 1 year, it was built over a number of years. And as technology increased, the ones that got put into the system later were probably a higher capacity than the ones that were put in at the very beginning. So I think when we did the first one, that was the equipment that was available. By the time we finished the last water system, there was different equipment available. So we did kind of sort of make them talk to each other, but it wasn't ideal. And now it's active, mature.
I like that term, active mature. Yeah, this might be as much as I don't like spending money, this might be an opportunity to get everything aligned but. True. So we have a recommendation that, any other questions, comments, concerns? Thanks for your presentation. And I guess the recommendation is that committee of the whole receive as information. Thank you. Okay, before we have you come up, we'd like to take a 45-minute break. Sorry, 5-minute is what I meant to say. Oh, welcome back, everybody. 9:22. We will go to 2.2 Divisional Grader Review. The floor is yours. Welcome.
Good morning, council. So here today to discuss a divisional grader review that has been done over the past few months. So at March 12th Committee of the Whole, the Committee of the Whole reviewed the policy 13-2, our transportation grader level of service, and directed administration to complete a review comparing our current 10 grader division model to a reduced 7 grader division model. So this review is focused on a few key points: current operational costs, potential savings, service level impacts, staffing implications, equipment implications, and operational realities of both models. So just some background. These dates aren't 100% for sure, but 2006, Kneehill operated with 7 graders divisions. 2008, we moved to 8 division graders. In 2015, we expanded from 8 divisions to 10 grader divisions. At that time, we had 7 county-owned grader divisions, and 3 were contract divisions that contractors were operating. And that continued till 2020. In 2019, 2 of the 3 contract graders had to pull out. I'm not 100% sure on what happened there, but at that time, when the cost analysis was done, it was cheaper to run in-house graders. So that is the direction the county went. When the final grader division contract was up, we assumed that one in-house as well. So that is how we got to the current 10 divisions that we are running for graders. So breaking it down into our summer maintenance for the 10 divisions. So under policy 13-2, our season for summer maintenance is April 1st to September 31st, or September 30th, sorry. Once you take away weekends, statutory holidays, and that, we're left with approximately 131 working days to complete our level of service for summer maintenance. So those days also don't include anything for rain days, equipment breakdowns, maintenance, washboard, or spot repairs, re-graveling support. So under our current 10 division model, each grader division has approximately 195 kilometers averaged out. Some are bigger, some are smaller. That's just our average number. Operators currently work 8 hours a day. Takes to complete 1 full rotation about 17 working days approximately. So to complete our 6 rotations, which is our service level that's outlined in our policy, it takes about 102 working days of that 131. So this leaves about 29 days across the season for the operational demands and delays. That does not include blading dirt roads as well. So those are also things that are not included in this time. Emergency response work, anything like that. So currently we do blade under a 4-pass system. So not all roads get 4 passes. Some get 6, some get 8, depending on road width. So virtually the way the guys are blading currently is 2 cuts, 2 spreads, and that takes they get about 7 to 12 kilometers done a day, depending on travel distance and where they're going. So then if we move to a 7 grader division model, each grader division would approximately grow to 279 kilometers. Operators would have to move to a 10-hour workday. In that 10-hour workday, sorry, I'm just making sure I get my numbers right. They would be getting 12 to 15 kilometers done, bladed a day, depending on their location. So it would take approximately 21 days to complete 1 full cycle in our current standards, or currently how we're operating. So to complete the 6 rotations, it would take about 126 working days of the 130, only leaving 5 days left for any of the possible delays, weather, rain days, equipment breakdowns, maintenance, any of those random support things where we get a call out where there's an issue where that grader has to jump off that beat and move to the next spot. So moving into winter maintenance, the current 10 division model, we have 120 hours to remove the snow from the roads once our trigger is met. Currently, we're meeting that in 3.5 to 4 days, working 10-hour days when those snow events call for it. Those lighter snow events, we don't always work overtime, heavier ones we do. That's just to get all the roadways opened and cleaned up. So we're about a day, we got about a day of lenience if a snow event happens, day and a half, worst case scenario, or best case scenario, sorry. Under a 7 division model, once again, that the division would increase from 195 to about 279. So that response time would be 5 to 6 days to cover that same division under the 7 grader model. That would be working 10-hour days as well during snow events. So that would be pushing us past our current service level outlined in that policy. So we would need to make some changes to that to make sure that we are meeting our service levels. So once again, dirt roads in the winter aren't considered or are not being considered in the time to be plowed. The only time dirt roads are plowed are at ratepayer requests. They are the lowest priority. Even if we're driving past them, our priority is laid out to be those gravel roads, so we'll go finish them and hit those dirt roads on the way back. The only time that we do one ahead of time is if it's deemed operationally efficient. We got a half-mile of gravel and another half-mile of gravel along a highway with dirt in between. We likely will plow through there just to get to that other half-mile instead of going around the block. Yeah, so the increased distance per division would reduce the response times during those snow events, but that was really the biggest highlight of the winter maintenance. Drifting obviously is something to still take consideration, that we aren't triggered by drifting, but we still respond to drifting when required. So another thing that we kind of took a look at when it comes to operations was the other responsibilities that these operators are currently playing a factor in. So during the winter when they're not plowing snow, the operators are gravel hauling, stockpiling support, brushing operations, bridge maintenance support, signage support, and miscellaneous tasks like that, steaming culverts, hauling snow once operation snow events have been cleared. The other thing that we took a look at is with possible increased rotations is the possibility of increased gravel loss. There's lots of studies out there and data that show it. I didn't have a great way of bringing it into the power or RFD to quantify how much we would potentially lose. A conservative amount to estimate would be we might have to apply another 10,000 tons a year. Our average cost for gravel is $18 a ton, so we'd be looking at maybe an approximately $180,000 increase in our gravel program. So that's kind of our operational impacts, pros and cons to both. Both models could meet the service level. Just one gives you a little bit more flexibility with downtime, weather delays, and stuff like that. So under ideal conditions, both can achieve similar rotation timelines. However, one leaves limited time for weather delays, additional maintenance support, and operational tasks. So the graders do follow the gravel crew around when they're in the greater divisions, just to make sure that we can get that bladed out and as smooth as possible for traffic. So that's another thing that we did not take into consideration. These timelines are just based on doing our 6 rotations as outlined in our current policy. So moving into the financial and staffing implications. So currently we run 11 operators, so 10 divisional graders, one roamer grader, 2 supervisors, So the approximate cost with all the graders, everything in that is 2.7 million to run our summer maintenance program, or sorry, to run our, 2.7 million is not the correct number. So our annual cost for our grader program for just the staffing alone is 1.6 million, just over 1.6 million. So under a 7-division grader model, the staffing requirements would reduce to 8 operators, so 7 divisional, 1 roamer, maintaining the 2 supervisors. The cost would drop to 1.4, just over 1.4 million. So approximate costing or staff cost reductions would be 240,000 approximately. So then moving to equipment from there. So sorry, in the staffing, that calculates in all the overtime that would be occurred moving to a 7-grader division model versus the 10 that we currently run. So all the overtime is calculated in there and accounted for. In the equipment, the capital equipment plan, under the 10-division model, we currently are putting about 1,200 hours on our graders per week, or per year, based on a 40-hour work week. With the estimated cost of a grader being around $687,000, our annual requirements to place into the approximate grader costs about $98,000 per grader per year. And then based on, that's what we put into the capital equipment plan. So based on 11 graders, the annual capital equipment requirement that we would be putting into our reserve is $1,080,000. So go into the 7-division model. Operators would put on about 1,520 hours annually based on the 50-hour work week during the summer and the storms, winter storms. We would have to reduce the life cycle to 6 years using the same replacement costs. We would be putting in $114,000 per grader for the capital equipment for an estimated total of $917,000 per year for our capital equipment reserve. So we would save approximately $163,000 a year just in capital equipment reserves, or contribution to the capital equipment reserves. Just going into the cost of potential gravel again, if we were to look at $180,000 worth of gravel, would be about 10 extra thousand tones on the roads. So just the cost summary to wrap up the costing side of things. Virtually, we would be saving about $403,000 to drop to 7 divisions, while increasing our rotation, but still being able to meet it with very little room for any of those extra delays that we might run into. If we were to anticipate that $180,000 in gravel loss, extra gravel that would need to be replaced on the roads, that would reduce it to $223,000 annually is what we would be saving. I guess does council have any questions so far?
Councillor, Reeve McCook.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Just get you some history here. We ran 7 graders for 30 years. We could do a division in wintertime in 3 days, easy. Every 30 weeks, the grader go by the mailbox, 10-hour days. You got bigger graders now, more power. I think it can be met, and it can be met easily. The other thing too is we never used to pull graders off for an emergency, unless it was an emergency, I should say. Just because somebody had washboard in front of their place, you waited until your rotation. And if it was that bad, we also had a rover grader that we used for building dirt roads. So to me, when you run 7 graders at full bore, that's efficient. You're putting the hours on your machines. When you say you're running 1,300 hours on the 8-hour day, you can be guaranteed that 2 of them every day, or 3 of them just about, is travel time. You guys, it seems like the saying out there is we were spending more money on tires running back and forth to the shop than we are grading. If you get 10 hours, let's go, let's put the hours on the machines. That's my thought. Now, as far as what we did, also, you get rain days. We haven't seen rain days in years. You get rain days, you allow the staff the opportunity to pick that day up on the weekend, on a Saturday. If you get a rain day during the week, right? That's an option. That's options that we used to do all the time. Same as the wintertime. Wintertime, you want to go and keep the grader guys working all the time. They're not working at 50 or 60 bucks an hour at grader rates. They're going to go back to a different rate. They're going to go to a labor rate or something else. That's another way to look at it. So that's just some thought to put into it. Other than that, you know, when I look at this, we're saving a few bucks. Plus, you got $3 million or $4 million worth of equipment you're gonna sell. Or what do you got? 8 graders. So you got four graders you can sell at $600,000 a grader, right? Or it won't be that much, but I mean, there's 4 graders.
Yeah.
So there's that money's got to be thrown into that too. No, I'm not sure where you're talking about how we lose gravel by more rotation.
So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Can you just say that to me again, or explain that to me, please?
Yeah, so just, so under our current thing, our current operations, how we're blading roads, how we're doing stuff, our timeline would increase. It wouldn't decrease just due to the extra kilometers. That's under current operational practice. So if we're extending that another week virtually to do that rotation, there could be the possibility that there's gravel loss. Those aren't set in stone numbers. It's just something that I wanted to bring aware that there are roads that we might lose more gravel on, that we might have to gravel more often depending on that road, right? High traffic ones are the ones I'm thinking of more than anything, right? Depending on the season of the year. Roads do get beat up, traffic throws that gravel to the edge of the road. We don't want those graders going in and playing with that grass too much. So there is possibilities. They're not set in stone numbers. It's just something that could potentially, we won't see that come in the first year. It might be 2-3 years down the road where our gravel program starts to increase because seeing the demand.
Okay.
So.
One of the things too is that I do believe that you can get more efficient in 10 hours a day, and you will get a greater rotation. Like you will be able to hit a guy's mailbox every 3rd week. Now, the other concern that I have, and I don't know where we're at with it, but if we're doing roads more than that rotation because of special interest groups or something, I have a concern with that. Every taxpayer pays, every road needs to be graded the same, the way I think of it. And you can do that with your guys and your extra rovers. So, I mean, this is good. This is, it looks like it's cost saving and stuff like that, and I think we should think about it and,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So just going back to, I think, to one of your initial comments there. So our roamer grader does our dust control program, which takes up a significant amount of time in the spring and midsummer there to apply that. The graders, we average, the highest travel distance one grader has is a 40-minute travel one direction currently. So under that, I have directed the supervisors to ensure that the graders that are working in those areas where that's that 40-minute travel time to be working 10-hour days in that area, and we've already seen some efficiency benefits from that, making sure to get that 8 or 12 kilometers done up in that area and trying to reduce the amount of travel time back to that area. So we are currently doing some of that stuff in-house. As for the roads, 100%, every road in Kneehill County under our current policy is to be bladed 6 rotations per year. There are higher traffic ones that we do blade more often. Trochu West is a good example. 241, the Kazoo Road's a good example. 260 down in Acme Cemetery Way, good example of high traffic roads that do get bladed more often. I don't have an exact number on how many more times these certain roads may get bladed, but they all are those arterial collector roads that do see a significant increase of traffic compared to some local roads. So,
Just one question. Is there something we can do to to decrease that 40-minute travel time? Like storage closer?
Yeah.
Maybe we can look at that. I mean, I know it's, again, a cost, but in the long term, it would save money, would it not?
There's a good possibility of it. So the recommendation that we have in the RFD is that the committee of the whole recommend to council to direct administration to bring back a greater optimization strategy for future consideration. So really, what I would like, administration would like, is let us bring back a project. It's not going to be a 1-month project. Like, there's a lot of data we need to collect. Talking with our asset management and GIS, there's been other counties that have hired a third-party contractor to help them with it. They have saved 30% of their downtime, virtually travel time, just by optimizing their routes. So that includes the grader operators clicking or writing on a map where they started their route, what direction they're traveling, so that we get a base analysis of what the guys are currently doing out there, and then optimizing that route to make sure they're doing it the most efficient way. Biggest thing is getting operator buy-in once we do it, to make sure they're following it. So if we're gonna spend the time and money into making sure that we're optimizing these routes, then they need to be followed. So that, Rocky View is one county that I heard had done the greater optimization. Operators didn't buy into it. They didn't save it as much, right? So there's a couple options, whether we could bring back the possible costing of the third-party help or the internal one. The rumors out there from all the counties I've done is 30%. I think we could probably save a good 10% in-house by just doing an in-house project that takes us, it's gonna take us some time, likely 8 months to a year, to get it and see the actual benefits of it being rolled out. But I think there's a lot of room for improvement under our current operation and increasing that turnaround on our rotation.
Okay, I've got Reeve McCook and then Councillor Woodstock.
Yeah, that, I'm not in favor of hiring people to come in here and do this. I don't care where they're from.
100%.
You know what I feel about the surrounding counties and everything? We're not going to get any more information. They're all going to be the same because, like I said before, I think I'm with you on that aspect. We'll look at it ourselves and come up with a solution that can get us better efficiencies and get more hours on these graders and get them past the mailboxes on a 3-week rotation rather than what it's doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Councillor Woodstock?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to do a little history stuff here, if that's amicable. Yes, in 2006, we had 7 grader divisions. In 2008, we expanded it because the roads were starting to deteriorate. Then we got into 2015, and we had to increase graders again. There was a pile of oil field activity happening, and it's still happening. Traffic increased, lots of tridems, lots of B trains, lots of more extra hauls. We had terminals built within the county, and as traffic increased, the roads deteriorated deeper and deeper. So our plan back then was to make sure that the road stayed up, because it didn't take long to beat the crap out of a road if there was a pile of traffic on it. And to bring that road back into a decent rotation took quite a while. So rather than beat the crap out of the roads, we decided if we kept maintaining the roads at a better condition, then the roads are in better condition, they don't break down, and there's less re-graveling. You don't end up with the huge potholes when you have a rain event, which I'm really hoping we get a pile of them this year. But, I mean, there was a reason that the grader beats increased in size. We still have that same oil field, maybe not quite as much oil field, but there is a lot of oil field going on, which we didn't have prior to 2006. When you look at all the shallow gas wells, all that kind of stuff, I mean, there is considerably more traffic on the roads than there used to be. I mean, you can tell even on the highways, that there is more traffic, and not all of them just stay on the highways. They have to come into market roads or whatever roads to get to the highway. So we had, you know, right now, I think, Mike, you stated that grader operators that are further away actually do work the 10-hour days to get back and to get more stuff done. They're not wasting their time high blading. And as far as I'm concerned, I think like this, the system that we have now is working. And somebody once told me years and years ago, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's the end of mine.
Thank you. Counselor Olson.
Yeah, I agree with Counselor Whitstock. Sorry about that. I don't want the roads to be, you know, maintained less, and I don't want them to be degraded. But I also think we're spending a lot of money with this operation. I think there is some absolute savings we can find. I just had a couple questions too. Like, I mean, based on the two, it looked like we were gonna get an extra 1,000 hours and some change on per unit. And so we own 11 graders and we're using 10, is that correct? We own how many
So,
graders?
through the chair, so each grader would get about 300 extra hours a year with the overtime. So currently we own 12 graders, because we keep one as a spare. So we have 11 that are working actively when fully staffed, 10 division graders, 1 roamer grader, and a spare for any breakdowns that happen, so we can get that operator back out into their beat.
And before we were using 7 with a spare in 2006? So we've added 4 machines and operators. Is that
Correct. So we keep back a machine, so like, we bought this year's machines, we sold, I believe there was 3 that showed up for 2 or 3 that showed up as capital equipment. We sold, we'll use 2 for an example, because I can't remember off the top of my head. So we bought 2 machines hit our fleet, 2 went to sale, but 1 was left over from the year before, so we always keep 1, so we always have a machine, so that if we have breakdowns, that the division isn't falling behind. Most of the stuff's warranty covered, but some of it's, right now in the world we live in, sometimes they're shipping parts from overseas that take a week to come in, and we need to make sure those graders are out there, right? So,
And how many hours before we're sending them to the auction?
I believe currently we're right around that 8,500 hours when they hit the sale.
Okay, so if we up that to even 10,000 hours, we're not gonna lose that much money at the sale.
You would see a decrease for sure, so a lot of our sales is based on the year of the grader, not so much the hours.
Yeah, I mean,
A lot of it too is you would be off warranty at that point, so a part of our 2027 capital equipment that's coming back is we're doing a analysis on our warranty that we are purchasing, right? So $687,000 is the grader, the 9,500 hour warranty, everything. So we're weighing those pros and cons of whether we need the warranty or not. We're doing a full cost analysis on that to bring back for consideration for council to make sure that we're running those graders the most efficient way as possible, yes.
Counselor Penner.
Yeah, expanding on Councillor Olson's comments then. You've talked about an optimization strategy that you'd like to enter into to give us the information that we need to make better decisions.
Correct.
If I'm understanding with some of our asset management software that's relatively new, that we're going to have better information 6 months from now, a year from now than what we have today, if we give you the go-ahead to do this strategy. I think it seems like a great idea.
Reeve McCook and then Counselor.
Yeah, in regards to Councillor Woodstock's concern about the oil companies, yes, there's more oil companies probably out there, but your contract graders are following the oil companies around through their line, or their road use agreements. In the last 15 years, my roads have never improved. They've got worse. Maybe yours are better, but mine are worse.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Counselor.
I wouldn't say mine, okay. Mine see a whole lot more traffic than they ever did before. It is, if I was to wait 3 weeks to get a grader to come past my house, I would not be able to drive on those. I think Mike, you probably have numbers on that too. But there is no way that I would be able to have a road that I could actually drive on if I only saw a grader once every 3 weeks. And when we're looking at this seven grader scenario, and if you're thinking that we're gonna, well, according to the numbers, it's 126 days to get past on just the gravel roads. Now you've got 5 days to do 53 kilometers of black dirt trails. I can't see where that could possibly happen. In 5 days, you'll never get 53 kilometers of black dirt. And as far as cutting down on the graders, because your roads have gotten worse, mine, I need more grading. It's hard to do it in these kind of conditions because that washboard shows up like right away. And there's so much Tridums, B-trains, even oil field traffic that's running up and down the roads that, I mean, I can't see getting better roads by doing less maintenance on them. So that's my thoughts on it.
Counselor Cunningham.
So, Mr. Conkin, I noticed earlier you said when we're fully staffed, and I noticed on the website that we currently are looking for an equipment operator. So, I mean, just everybody's looking for staff right now, it seems like. So, I mean, if we have the 11 graders, we have to be able to put staff on them. So I guess in your estimation, like, are we maintaining a full staff for the most part? Or are you having trouble keeping staff for those 11 graders? Just curious on that.
Yeah, so currently for grader staffing, we just have one employee. We have one vacant spot with a seasonal in it, and then we have one employee off on a medical leave. So a little out of the normal, so that's where that comment comes. Our other crew is shorter, down 3 full-time operators with another person on medical leave. So yes, we did post a position to hire some operators for that crew. Waiting, the grader one will be a later date once we kind of see council's direction here. I didn't want to fill a position and then have council go a different direction, right? So trying to make sure that we don't put the cart before the horse.
Counselor Penner, or sorry, Counselor Olson.
No, sorry. I do like the added hours and having those, you know, saving on travel if that's possible. But, I mean, going from 11 to 7 might be a bit of a jump, but we are going to have to look at, you know, economizing this for sure. I think just the money involved here is a lot.
Reeve McCook.
Yeah. It used to be, it's not a big jump going from 11 to 7. 7 graders used to run this show all the time. 11 graders got brought in, plus shops got brought in because of, not so much because the roads were getting abused, it was because of change in a direction from a CAO that wanted this. That's how this started. And I'm still of the opinion that every road should be treated the same. Now, Councillor Woodstock, I'm pretty sure the roads that you're dealing with are leading down to a feedlot or an intensive feedlot operation and or a heavy, three intensive feedlot operations. I understand that part. But those feedlots don't pay any more taxes than anybody else. Our roads should be, I'd like my road graded every 2 weeks too. Councillor Cunningham would like her road graded every 2 weeks. I think it's an argument that I'm glad we're having, and I know where it's coming from, and I'm of the favor of, I like the recommendation that you take her back and work her over and see where we're at.
Counselor Penner, now you can speak.
I guess on that, I would have to disagree. I think we have to have built into our road maintenance program flexibility to allow for highly impacted roads to be improved on, because if we don't stay ahead of those roads, then we're facing what I would imagine would be significantly higher expenses rebuilding roads. I guess my next comment would be from a standpoint of even the agricultural community. We're shipping 20, 30% more grain than we did 30 years ago, conservatively. We alone are putting a significantly higher impact on our roads than all the other ones.
Counselor Whitstock, did you have a question, comment?
No question, just a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Out of those 3 feedlots that we have in my area, we have 140 employees that work there. I mean, that gives the ability for some of our young people to actually stay here and work. I'm not saying they're all local people that work there. I'm not saying that by any means. But what I am saying is that the opportunities are there. The villages of Acme and Linden certainly do, what is the word? They benefit from the extra employees. I mean, we've got a post office that's probably going to stay open, 2 of them actually, one in Acme and one in Linden. We have grocery stores, we have restaurants. I think it's a regional thing. I mean, I don't like driving on crappy roads, but I don't want to get the roads to the point where they can't be graded and actually drivable. So I do think we're going to have to figure out a way that some of these high market or high traffic market roads are looked after. And I'm not just saying that they're just in my division, they're all over the place. I mean, you look at the roads by the terminals, those gravel roads see extra traffic. There's a lot of places in this county that are seeing way more traffic than they ever used to. And it's not that we're getting more roads, but we certainly are getting more traffic. And that being said, again, I'll go back to it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Counselor Olson.
Yeah, so I guess I'm not quite understanding why we task the oil companies with doing extra and maintaining their roads, and some of these intensified farming operations, they're not required to, have a third-party grader help maintain the roads, especially when they're doing cleaning corrals out and doing, there's trucks are going by, and the guys are going by like as fast as the things will go, and they're stopping. They're causing a lot of washboard just with the way they're driving. So, and I mean, I don't, that's their business, but I'm just saying, why are we tasking one and not the other to help maintain the road? It's just a question I have. I just never understood the difference.
Counselor Whitstock.
Well, to be quite honest with you, I have never seen an oil field grader in my area other than black dirt trails where they have to have access in through the winter and because of weather conditions. But I've never seen a oil field grader on a gravel road in my area. So, and I don't know, we probably have to have some sort of an agreement before they can go on those roads anyway. I'm not sure.
Counselor Cunningham, go ahead.
So I understand what you're saying, Councillor Woodstock, but I know back to when the solar project happened in Division 5, my concern to the county was there was a lot of personal vehicle use, like we're talking hundreds a day, and I was told they're public roads and we can't alter what people do on public roads. So, I mean, I guess it's an interesting conversation to have, but just further to that, like when I looked at the comparisons on the file here. I guess what I'm wondering is, if we go to the 7 division, are we going to have to alter our service levels? To me, I guess, there's no way we couldn't. And I guess as a collective, are we prepared to do that with our ratepayers, is to reduce that service level? Would be a question that I would have.
Nobody's saying we're reducing it.
I'm not a grader expert, but to me, when you're reducing that many, I mean, I don't know how you couldn't, and I guess that's a question for Mr. Concord.
Through the chair. So again, the way that we are currently operating with the 4-pass system, the time that it takes for us to do stuff, you would be, in the summer months, yes, you would be able to meet it with only that 5 days of leeway of getting all the dirt roads bladed twice a year as per our policy that I unfortunately did not put into the policy there. So those average out to about 50 kilometers per division, right? So yes, arguably, or not arguably, the numbers show that the service level would have to come back for council's consideration to be adjusted to meet it. Once again, that's where I think if we look at that optimization stuff and bring back a project for council's consideration, that would be where the biggest benefit would be. So each grader division, like if we were to go from 10 to 7, each grader division size is approximately jumping by 43% in size, right? You're adding almost 100 plus kilometers to those divisions. Once again, there's ways you can do it. I have never done it, but I've heard of 3-pass systems and that ways we can look into stuff like that. It's just, I'm just basing everything off of currently how we operate.
Okay, Councillor Olson.
So further to what Councillor Woodstock said about third-party or private graders on the road, what is the situation there? And what, do we have a written road use agreement with operators, oil field operators, or, yeah, what is the situation there then?
Through the chair, yes, oil field companies do sign road use agreements. For example, if they're drilling, 241's close to town. So if they're drilling on 241, they'll sign a road use agreement. We give them permission to use X amount of miles, and this is your route that you're supposed to be taking. They are responsible for maintaining that. Our oil field inspector goes out and checks it every day, checks on it. If there's deficiencies in it, Waterline's a great example. They have a road use agreement. Every time they turn the skid steer on the side of the road and put up those little ruts, they're supposed to be raking them out. If they don't rake them out, we call them, say, hey, get a grader here and go fix all this up, because it's impacts that happen to the road that were not road use intended, right? They're line, water line in the ditch. As for the drilling, they maintain that chunk of road that they're using because their load intensifies for that drilling time period, right? Rough number, like I've heard 600-700 loads for a well to go in, right? Just for the fracking, right? So they maintain that chunk of road while they're there. Once they're finished on that, we sign off saying, okay, this road's back in the care of Kneehill County. We then maintain it. 250 north of 583 is a good example, right? That's a full-time road use agreement haul because the plants that are there, they maintain them. They lay the dust control down because that's the easiest way to maintain them for them, to try to eliminate and stabilize that road, to eliminate washboard, keep the safety concerns down, right? Our main goal is to make sure these roads are safe for every user. That's what our policy is based on, is trying to get around and make sure they're safe and accessible for everybody to use, so.
I believe Councillor Penner has a question, comment, and then Reeve Cook.
I guess further to that, third-party people operating on our roads, there's an extensive liability issue, I would imagine. You know, insurance coverage, I don't know that we would want to put that onus on ratepayers, for example, that have feedlots, nor do we necessarily want them taking on that responsibility. Just quality control of the maintenance program. And I guess with that in mind, I would like to move that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council direct administration to bring back a greater optimization strategy for future consideration.
Okay. Any further comments, Ruth McCook? I guess for myself, the discussion of roads and road use graders has been around since I was a little kid. I can remember a few neighbors talking about different grader operators and how it should be done better and faster and quicker. And this is a topic that is going to plague us for 100 years.
Not us.
Yeah, some of us are, how did the word go? Actively maturing. So, Mike, you said there is potentially some cost savings, and I do agree that bringing back an optimization strategy can be done, and I don't want to make a decision on this right away. So I would be inclined to agree with your motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, next we'll move on to 2.3, ratepayer. Councillor Whitstock, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've had a request from a ratepayer. He wanted to get water into his property, and I know we no longer have a program for helping provide funding for water line not adjacent to the property. And his question to me was whether council would be interested. He's got to go 800 meters to hook into the water line. My question is whether or not council would be interested in helping out somewhat to help with that situation. And I'm not one way or the other on this. I don't have any interest in any of this. So I'm just asking for the ratepayer. He phoned me last week, and I told him that I would bring it forward to the Committee of the Whole to determine whether council would have any sort of interest in helping him. And that is all I can say about it.
Okay. Any comments, questions, concerns?
Yeah, it just brings back some information, more information on that, and we'll have a look at it.
Well, the only information is it's got to go 800
800
meters
meters.
from the end of the pipe to his residence.
Is it
So I'm,
all 800 meters on his property? Do we have to go through anybody else's property, or is it all his?
no, he just has an acreage, so it would be either in the right of way or just next to the right of way. And I would assume that it would probably all be directionally drilled, because I cannot see any other way of doing it, but that's just me, I don't know. So, I mean, I can see what he's checked or what he's done, or how he's computed it, but
Right.
other than that.
Mr. Conklin, I believe your hand went up. Go ahead.
Through the chair. So there has been a few water line extensions that have happened in the past. Majority of them happen within the road right away. So that way we're not dealing with easements of landowners and crop disturbance. They've gone in numerous ways depending on lengths, whether it's directionally drilled or open trenching. There's a addendum or agreements they have to sign, virtually the contractors completing the work to work within our right of way to extend that water line, so.
We'd have to know, I guess, a cost on what that directional bore would
What are they asking for?
cost. Go ahead, Councillor Olson.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of doing a one-off with, one person. I understand that it is costly, but we're still subsidizing the water, system and program as it is. And I think I'm in agreement that he can hook up or do whatever, but I think it has to be done under his cost. That's my personal opinion, but I'm not excluding him. I'm just saying, hey, we're already subsidizing it, and yeah, we've got the line within 800 meters of his, where he wants it, so there you go.
Counselor Cunningham.
And I just think it probably wouldn't be a one-off, because I had a ratepayer, I just went back and looked at my email. It was funny, because we think people aren't watching the meetings when we removed, I think we changed that policy in 2023, and he was listening on Twitter, and I got an email immediately. So I know he would be one that would be back at the table if we were gonna do one. I think we're gonna see other ones come forward, so I guess we have to be prepared for that.
Okay, how would council like to proceed? Bring this back to regular council meeting? Go ahead, CAO Cochran.
Thank you. Through the chair to the committee of the whole. So one way we could proceed with this is council could have a motion to direct administration to review this situation and come back with cost analysis for council's consideration. We would need to do that in order for you to be well informed on what you're approving. So we would need a motion for you to direct us to do that work.
That sounds like a lovely idea. Who would like to? Counselor Olson.
Yeah, based on that information from CAO, I would make a motion that the committee of the whole direct administration to bring back a report for on the cost of, extending a line for said ratepayer.
Comments? Concerns? Counselor Cunningham.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, like I said, if we go forward with this, my ratepayer is gonna be calling me, probably by the time the meeting ends. So are we gonna, could we alter this motion to say, in addition to any other that may be interested, or do you just wanna bring that back on a case-by-case basis? Okay.
I would feel case by case would be, yeah. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving into closed session, like, oh. Sure.
Thank you. Through the chair to all of council. Just going back to the water where we were talking about bulk water rates and people that weren't paying, I just wanted to make sure we had a good record of that since it was stated. Right now we have 3 bulk water accounts that are 120 days past overdue out of 624. One is over $7,000 of which we're starting the collection process. So if people don't pay their bills here, we do go after them to get the money or we put it on their taxes. So we don't let it sit.
Thank you for that information, appreciate that. All right. 3.0, or 3.1, closed session. Would like to move us into closed. Counselor Cunningham.
I will move us into closed session at 10:15 a.m.
All those in favor of moving into closed session? Carried. We'll move into closed session at 10:15.
All the big dogs are there reading.
All right, we're back online. Come out of closed at 10:48.
Ugly.
If there's nothing else to discuss, we'll adjourn the meeting at 10:50.